Meet! This is Spiderman! He has become cute in the character of Gnome. Batman Gnome. He is a master detective and always knows how to outsmart his opponents. Superman Gnome. More powerful than a lawnmower, able to leap garden gnomes in a single bound. And here's another superhero Iron Man who turned into a gnome. Who's next on the list? Look, Wolverine. We made a new image out of him. Gnome came out great. Captain America Gnome, the ultimate patriot gnome. Captain America always stands up for what is right and just. I didn't expect Hulk to become so interesting. Gnome. Wow! Didn't see that coming, did you? And this Thor became Gnome. Flash Gnome. The fastest gnome alive, the Flash can run circles around his opponents. Our next character is Deadpool. Do you think Gnome made it? I hope so. The best gnome plus Black Widow of my life. Watching the next character? Green Lantern reminds me of Plasticine, which makes all the transformations cool. Doctor Strange Gnome, with his mystical powers and magical garden tools. Wonder Woman Gnome, armed with her lasso of truth and her tiara of power. Black Panther transformed into Gnome, but he still has his powers and superpowers. Nick Fury Gnome, the ultimate spy gnome. Nick Fury always knows what's happening in the garden and beyond. Silver Surfer turned into Gnome, the real Gnome. Hawkeye Gnome, the master archer of the garden. Hawkeye never misses his mark and always hits the bullseye. Captain Marvel Gnome, the most powerful gnome in the garden. AquaMan Gnome, he is always ready to protect his underwater kingdom and its inhabitants. Bucky Barnes Gnome, the Winter Soldier Gnome. Bucky Barnes is a tough and skilled warrior. Ant-Man Gnome, small in size but big on heroics. Ant-Man can shrink down to the size of an ant. We are in the middle of our list of heroes. Who's next? Falcon Gnome. Falcon soars above the garden and always has a bird's eye view of everything that's happening. Well, here is Groot, which with the help of magic became Gnome. Thanos turned into Gnome. How I love turning superheroes into such vivid characters. Loki Gnome, the trickster gnome. Loki is always up to something mischievous and unpredictable. Rocket Raccoon, what do you think gnome will he become? Look! Star-Lord Gnome, the grooviest gnome in the galaxy. Star-Lord always brings the party wherever he goes. Gamora Gnome, a fierce warrior gnome. Gamora is always ready to take on any challenge. Who's next? That's right, Green Goblin. What did he become? Gnome! Vision Gnome, the all-seeing gnome. Vision has the ability to see all the secrets and mysteries of the garden. Goro Gnome, with his 4 arms and his imposing presence, Goro is the most fearsome gnome in the garden. Marvel and DC have a lot of different characters. Next up, Harley Quinn. See how he turned out as gnome. Thing turned into gnome. An interesting image that many superhero fans will enjoy. Sub-Zero Gnome, the coolest gnome in the garden. Sub-Zero is always ready to freeze his opponents in their tracks. Scorpion Gnome, with his stinger tail and his deadly claws, the Scorpion Gnome is not to be trifled with. Well, here is Magneto, which with the help of magic became gnome. Ultron Gnome, the robotic gnome. Ultron is always evolving and upgrading to become the ultimate gnome machine. Red Skull Gnome, the ultimate villain gnome. Red Skull is always plotting and scheming to take over the garden. Yoda turned into gnome. I love doing this. If I hadn't seen the picture Darth Vader on the left, I wouldn't have believed my eyes. Do you see this? Out came the really cool Daredevil plus gnome. Electra Gnome, with her trusty sayas at her side, the Electra Gnome is always ready for action and adventure. An unusual transformation. I never thought Blade would be so similar to Gnome. Black Bolt got even better in Gnome. No comments. Do you think Quicksilver would like to become Gnome? I'm sure it would. If you like my videos, write in the comments who you'd like to turn superheroes into, and I'll try to do it.